Today we're talking about some awesome scores for Monster Hunter Wilds. Fable is delayed, but we got some amazing looking new footage, and Assassin's Creed leaks a month early. But will it hurt sales? Stick around to find out. Welcome, friends, to this week's episode of Good Playing With You, your weekly gaming news roundup. I'm Dan Whitehill, and as always, I'm joined by my charming collection of Matts, Matt Lord.
Hey, how's it going?
And Matthew Moulding.
Hey now.
We've got a lot of great stories, but first, let's jump into those Monster Hunter scores. Moulding, you had all the details.
Yes, I am super excited. We are recording this on Thursday evening, but you're hearing it on Friday, which means Monster Hunter Wilds has officially released to the general public. I'm so excited to play. Reviewers had their embargoes lifted earlier this week, and so far it's been getting a extremely positive response with an 89 on OpenCritic, and as of today, 90 on Metacritic. And here's what some of those critics are saying. DualShockers gave it a perfect 100, saying that after 100 hours of gameplay and reaching Hunter rank 110, we can confidently say that Monster Hunter Wilds is a better game than World and Rise, which is fantastic for me because World is incredible and Rise was just under that. So that makes me very excited. Largely focusing on streamlining and making the overall experience more accessible without removing the core principles that veteran hunters have come to know and love. Monster Hunter Wilds is a game that should be experienced by everyone. You hear that? Everyone. Destructoid. Yeah, we'll see. Destructoid came in with a 95, just a little bit under that, saying whether you're eager to dive into the Monster Hunter universe for the first time or you're a longtime fan seeking a new adventure, Monster Hunter Wilds offers everything you need for an unforgettable experience. Capcom has truly outdone itself with yet another exceptional game that you won't want to miss. Finally, on the lower end, and even though pretty great score, is Game Rant with an 80, saying while it may be a step down from its predecessor, Monster Hunter Wilds is still a great game with significant quality of life improvements, many of which shake up the formula for the better. But Capcom went a little too far in its effort to make the game more accessible to the masses, to the point where it risks alienating its most hardcore fans. Ooh. So I dove really deep into these reviews this week. I'm super pumped. A lot of people said that it was easier, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I did some, not trolling, I did some commenting online this week. And like, if Monster Hunter is easy for you with the weapon you're using, just switch to a weapon you don't know as well. And that'll ramp up the difficulty right there. I mean, maybe a lot of people would just say, hey, I'm an expert at all the weapons, but I think that's silly. You're always going to experience something new and fun with a new weapon. A lot of people said it's short, which again, that's not the point of Monster Hunter, is not necessarily story. It's that gameplay loop that's really classic now. And it's something that I absolutely love.
But aren't you like playing the same? You're hunting the same monsters often.
You're hunting this. Absolutely. There's probably, I mean, I don't know the number of monsters in this one, but let's say there's 25 different monsters. I don't know.
Do we know if this one has more monsters than before? Like, is that?
No. Someone may have somewhere said, I mean, even though I did a lot of deep dive into the reviews, I've been trying not to look at gameplay too much because I just don't want to be spoiled on, like, if there are any monsters that I've seen before, I just want to try to keep all of that secret. I do know that there's a weapon switching thing that they've do now, where usually you'd go on a hunt, you can only carry one weapon. Now it looks like you can carry two, so that's pretty fun.
That's cool.
I'm just super excited for it. And let me guess, neither of you are excited for this good game because you have terrible testing games.
Lord,
I mean, this is one of those games that, I mean, it's such a tough one because these are games that, in my mind and my experience with the games, you have to put in so much time to get the satisfaction you want out of it. And with Worlds, I jumped in a little late and I wanted to play with a buddy of mine. And he was already totally geared up, and I came in late, and I was just like, I just am not.
That's your gut. That's his fault for being overpowered and playing with you, because that would be no fun for me to go in and try to fight a monster to have someone overpowered.
And that's
Destiny
the thing.
2. Maulding did that to me.
No, and I feel like the amount that I'm able to put in right now for some of these games, I don't blame them for taking off and getting geared up. So it's like, I don't know. That's my experience.
You can always roll a new character and just have that character. Or you don't even have to wear the best armor either, because it's not like you really level up. Your levels are kind of gained by getting better armor and better weapons. So just have them use a crappy weapon, crappy armor, and then you'll be on the same
wild
page.
thing to me. It's like the formula is genius. It's total Dan bait. It's like hanging out with your buddies, and you go and you kill a big monster, you level up, which everyone loves leveling up, you get new gear, and then you go and kill bigger and better monsters. That formula is amazing. I just wish it worked. It didn't previously in the original version, I thought that, but Wild Hearts came along. And yes, I know the Wild Hearts is the EA Me Too ripoff thing, but it added some crucial features like easy co-op, and it also added building a la Fortnite with some really cool contraptions. And I genuinely really liked that game. It didn't hurt that it was free on Game Pass for me, so I was able to get into it. I found it much more accessible. And so that's what I want to know about this one. Maulding here is going to be doing our review. So Maulding will have more details when he does the full review, as well as we'll be asking him follow-up questions on next week's episode. Because this is such a big game, we want to make sure we cover it fully. But Maulding, I want to know, like, how quickly do you go through the game? What is the combat like? Is it satisfying? What is the co-op like? I've got questions because, I'm bi-curious on this
You're on
one.
The fence. You're bi-curious. I like that.
Yeah. I could be tempted and swayed. We'll see. But I love hanging out with my buddies. I love killing animals in video games.
Oh, sad. Your poor dogs.
I know. But yeah, so I want to know more about it, but I'm worried because the last ones were so inaccessible. When they say this is easier, when they say this is like, all that sort of stuff, and they're like, oh, it's not for the hardcore. I'm like, sweet, because I wasn't the hardcore. So maybe this one is for me.
No, I will say
they dumbed it down just enough for you.
Yeah, or made it fun, however you want to see that.
It just when I hear that they're making it easier, though, I don't know. I can't help but have like red flags go off a little bit. It makes me nervous when I hear that. I always think they're making it like very, very easy, and just to like get in a bigger audience, which isn't a bad thing, but I do think not catering still to some of your loyal fans that have been fans for like 20 years now, like geez Louise,
around there.
Not like keeping it at their level that they're expecting, I do feel like can feel a little not alienating. I don't think that's the right word in this case, because I think still keeping it to that sort of difficulty standard is important to like maintain the game's like continuity, I guess.
Well, a lot of the major nerds say that it's the end game where this really shines. And so having the campaign be a little bit easier and onboarding people like me a little bit easier, I wouldn't mind if I know that the real challenge is coming later. So I agree with you, Lord, but I think the challenge is still there. It's just later.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right.
For me, Monster Hunter is definitely not about that story. The story is there in order to help you gear up for the end game. And then the end game is, I want to fight this powerful monster. I need to find out what it's vulnerable to. Oh, it's vulnerable to lightning. So I need to go kill a bunch of lightning monsters so that I get my lightning gear. And then maybe this monster doles out like dragon damage. So I need to go kill a dragon monster so that I get my dragon protection armor, go fight that, and then repeat. And then use that guy's armor.
Yeah.
Stop. Oh, it's so much fun.
But
no, it's so much fun. The whole time you're killing monsters.
Question: how much food are you eating in this in game while you're doing?
I don't know yet. I'm assuming that they do the same meal thing. I didn't read anything about that so far. But that's just you get a little buff from your meals to go out and fight. It's so much fun. I can't wait to get my hands on it.
Can't wait, Molly.
Well, I'm excited for you since I know you've been looking forward to that game. But moving
Yeah.
on, let's talk about a game that I was looking forward to, and that was Fable, my friends. And unfortunately for us, the wait for Fable is just going to be a little bit longer with the news that came out this week that it's going to be delayed. So this comes from VG247's Connor McCarr, and he says, Fable, a big new release from Playground Games and Xbox Game Studios, is being delayed to 2026. Womp womp. This was revealed in the latest episode of the official Xbox podcast, in which head of Xbox Game Studios, Craig Duncan, broke the news. He said in the podcast, well, he was talking about Fable, and then he mentioned like 14 minutes into the podcast, quote, they were giving Fable more time by pushing it back to 2026. No exact month next year was given, so we don't really know. We just know that it was pushed into next year, so we won't be playing it. But that's okay. At the end of this year, we kind of hopefully have GTA 6, so it's not like this year is a total wash, because I was truly looking forward to this. Digging a little deeper, of course, I found some gossip that I wanted to share with you gents, and I
Love
want to get your
gossip.
opinion on. Yeah.
Conspiracy
one-
theories, maybe?
Yeah.
Come in.
You know how we love them. But we got to call them out so people know it's not real news. But Game Rant wrote an article. There was an article on Game Rant written by Brett Bill, and it says, rumor, new Fable game could be releasing on PS5 day and date. And then they go through the article. I don't want to read it because it's just essentially that they're summarizing or they're surmising that essentially the delay is due to the PS5 version because of Xbox's release schedule and consoles that they've been embracing, and that Xbox gamers are basically having to wait because of PlayStation 5. So some big rumors
Whoa.
there. Yeah, a
That's
little
crazy.
bit crazy. That is crazy, and that's really unfortunate. And then I also you've got to wonder if maybe they are just chicken with GTA. So is it a GTA chicken? Is it a PS5 issue? Is it both? What do you guys think about the delay? Like, is this a good thing, a bad thing?
Malding, why don't you go for it?
I think they're chicken, which is funny because that video had a lot of chickens in it. So
I want to
do
talk
think
about the footage too. I'm super pumped for this footage.
I mean, I think anyone who's smart is going to get out of the way of GTA. So I think that is the main impetus, and maybe we just got to let them cook a little bit longer. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. I don't like the idea that that they're holding it back from Xbox players in order to put it day and date with PlayStation. That is where I draw the line on my positivity, kumbaya, more games to play everywhere. If you're delaying a game that I want to play in order to get it to play on your competitor, I am not excited about that, and I don't support that. But everything else, yeah, I think chicken.
Great
Amen.
points, Lord.
That's really great points, Malding.
Thank you.
I mean, I think I'm with Malding as well. I wouldn't be surprised if it's to get out of the way of the train that is GTA 6. It would be a smart move. One thing that I thought was interesting, I'm like, well, maybe they're delaying it because did you see Siri got a little bit of a reworking in the face? That was something that was going on Twitter.
Yeah.
Maybe they are doing the same.
Are you talking about Witcher?
The Witcher, the new
Witcher.
She did. She got a makeover. I'm wondering, are they doing the same thing with this?
Interesting,
this girl,
honestly.
Yep.
Okay, so I wanted to. I forced you guys to watch the footage because So yes, bad news that Fable is delayed, but they did give us some alpha footage that looks absolutely jaw-droppingly phenomenal, if you ask me. I'm such a super fan of this game, and it's probably because I played it so many years ago when I was a peanut, and I thought it was lost forever, and it just had such a unique sense of British humor and adventure, and it was doing its own thing, and the way that you could interact with the world and change things was truly fantastic. So I've been in love with this footage. I made you guys watch this footage. I saw some trolls online, a lot of people complaining about the wokeness, a lot of people complaining that she's not good looking enough. So I'd be curious to see if there's anything. They were asking for a character creator. Like, they were not fans. They were really harsh on it, but that could just be the YouTube audience. I thought the footage looked fantastic. It ended with kicking a chicken, which is just hilariously classic for the franchise. I loved being called a chicken kicker in the game. What did you guys think of the footage? Were you impressed?
It looked good. The footage looked good, but I'm kind of with them. I thought the main character looks goofy, and I think
That's fair.
like I can't help it. I'm like, this main character, I don't know what they're going for here, but maybe, I mean, I'm sure they're not going to do any overhauling on that character, but hey, that was just sort of something that I couldn't help but notice, because I felt like we got some really clean shots of like what we're dealing with here in the alpha footage. But I did have to say that, like, I couldn't believe the environment, like, everything looked incredible. Like, do we know if this is Unreal
So
5?
Well, yeah, I don't know what engine it is. I think it's their proprietary engine, the Playground
Oh,
thing that
okay.
they actually did. I think that's well, it's well known because they did the Forza and all that sort of stuff.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and so what's interesting about this is that it is alpha, so they might have to tone it down to fit on, the the old albatross Xbox Series S. So games have looked great in alpha, and then they've taken step backs. But if they can stick the landing with some of these graphics, whoo dog, yeah, it will
Yeah.
be a phenomenal molding. I want you to chime in.
I'll also say the misogynist in me also wants to play as very attractive people, and yeah, that
Yeah.
footage is she's not the
No,
most pleasing to the eye
she's
that I've ever
not.
seen of a
I'm just gonna
character.
say it.
But I
She's
don't think that's
Fiona from Shrek or
that's not like
whatever.
a woke thing.
No,
That's just
No,
like a aesthetics thing.
but that also isn't a deal breaker. It doesn't
No,
mean I
no,
won't,
it's not
like,
a deal
play
breaker
the
at all.
game
no,
because of
Yeah.
that. It's
Kratos
just
isn't very attractive. He's just got a
exactly.
great body. He's got an
Right.
ugly mug. Like we still play as
Exactly.
him.
For sure.
The where I get worried is that Avowed is also gorgeous and
That's a good
plays like poo poo. So
There are
hopefully,
redeeming qualities to Avowed, but yes.
sure, once in a while.
point.
My favorite redeeming quality is turning it off. That's my favorite redeeming quality. But just like temper those expectations, man, because you're getting high on it, and I don't want you to be
Yeah.
disappointed.
No, one thing I did want to focus
Yeah.
on and ask you, Dan, did you think, because it showed a little brief moment of her swinging that, like, what, it looked like a hammer, and then there was
Yep.
like a little bit of sword
Yep.
play. Did you
Yep.
like what you were seeing there?
Yeah, I 100% did. I love that you caught that. She fought some really cool monsters. She did have different weapons, and we know magic has been part of it, molding in the past, and
Very
you can
important.
dual wield, at least in the historically in that series. So I expect her to be able to do that as well. So I think they're just teasing us with just enough, and that there's a lot more under the hood. That's my expectation. And molding,
Yeah.
you could be totally right. I could be getting myself all worked up, and this is not going to be that great, but I want to be excited about it. I'm super
No, I
pumped.
want you to be excited about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to yuck your yum too much. Only just enough. Only just enough to be a dick. Not so much that you get sad.
Oh, well, speaking of people's yum being yucked, unfortunately, the Assassin's Creed leaked this week. This is a story that comes from Zach Sweezen over at Kotaku. Assassin's Creed Shadows is leaked a month before launch, is the name of the article, and he writes, for those playing, well, actually, I wrote, for those playing along at home, Assassin's Creed Shadows was due out November 12th, then was delayed to February 14th, and will now launch on March 20th. So I just thought that was interesting before we jump into this article, that you understand that this game has already been delayed twice. And I think that's really what caused a lot of these problems. So on February 24th, VJC and IGN reported that physical copies of Assassin's Creed Shadows had somehow leaked into the wild, and people have since bought the game early and started playing it. One person on Twitter claimed to have bought the leaked copy of Shadows on Facebook Marketplace and shared images of its box along with footage of them playing it. The images and videos have been removed by Ubisoft, possibly confirming their validity. Another user on Reddit claimed to have early copies and played it on PS5, sharing supposed details of the first few hours. Players have also reportedly started streaming the game on Twitch, though it appears those broadcasts are being taken down quickly and the archives are scrubbed. So it was also reported that Assassin's Creed Shadow appeared on the online retailer Mercari. The listing was allegedly selling copies of the game for $100 a pop, and an image of the seller showed them apparently holding multiple copies of Ubisoft's upcoming Assassin's Creed sequel. Ubisoft confirmed on February 24th that Shadows had indeed leaked and warned players about spoilers. So, gentlemen, leaks happen, and it sucks because a lot of people work on these sorts of things. But Ubi needs a dub right now. Do you think this is going to hurt sales? Is Ubi doomed, or is this good exposure? Maybe, yeah. Like, what do you guys think?
This game cannot catch a break. Like, it's just getting put through the ringer. Like, it is crazy. I think this will definitely hurt sales. I haven't seen much talk of like what the reaction to the game is, though. Like, have we heard
I
any?
sent you guys the footage, so I want to talk about that in a minute too. But first, I want to get your reaction.
I saw some of the footage. I don't think. I mean, to be honest, I didn't think the game had very much hope pre-leak. So I think we're definitely in treacherous waters now as far as sales go.
Molding?
So I feel the same way about leaks in this. Dan and I talked a little bit about this, about leaks in this scenario as I do with like celebrity nudes. Like I refuse to, I refuse to look at a celebrity nude leak because I think it's really a bad form to do that sort of thing. So I won't look. I did look at Chris Evans' nude, but that's just because he's special. But I feel the same way about this. Like, Dan, yes, you sent the footage. I'm not going to watch it because it's leaked stuff. I don't want to be a part of that, and I don't want to give it credence. Will it hurt sales? Yeah, I think they have to be specifically careful with this. Anything that'll make someone be like, yeah, I'm gonna pass on it is not good. They can't. I don't think that they can afford anybody to stand down on this game. I'm gonna wait for it to go on sale, so it's not gonna be a day one purchase for me. But yeah, that's how I feel.
Yeah.
Well, using your analogy of celebrity nudes, I am someone who would look at them and definitely do. And so
you look
I've
like
already
someone
seen...
who would look at them.
So I've already seen the footage and I sent it to you guys, but of course, Balding, you abstained. Lord, what did you think about it? Because I have some mixed feelings on it.
No, I saw mainly the I don't even want to butcher her name, the female samurai of the duo, and to me it looks like I wasn't too like upset about it. I know recently it was also funny, like one of the Ubisoft directors or something was saying how if you largely like not play one or the other characters, you won't like miss out on much or something, which I thought was such a weird quote early too. And I was like, okay, well, if you just played what is her name? Can somebody
just say
there's the
presence.
ninja and the samurai.
Yeah,
so
the ninja and the samurai. So the ninja is like if you just played her, I mean, which looks to me very true to form Assassin's Creed. I think it could be cool, but this is a game I'm already set on. Like I've kind of fallen to the wayside on Assassin's Creed at this point. I can't keep up with these bad boys, so I'll wait for this one to go on sale in some capacity.
Yeah, for me, look, I saw the footage and it confirmed a couple of things for me. One, this is more Assassin's Creed. It's a known quantity. It doesn't matter that it leaked, to be honest with you. I don't mean to be rude, but we've all played so many of these games. We know exactly what we're getting. And from this footage, it didn't look any different. One nice thing was they definitely paid attention. There's a lot more polish on this thing. The ninja female character had some amazing parkour moves, and I loved the different flips she was able to do. It was really nice, really well done. There was a nice little snow area that she walked through, and there was the crunching of the snow and the tracks.
Did it leave footprints? I always appreciate a footprint in the snow. Good.
Yes, it did. And so they had some nice attention to detail. But this is not like a leak on the level of The Last of Us Part 2, where there's stories that were just absolutely critical, storylines that were critical and that that people found out about and got upset about and stuff like that. This is the exact opposite end of the spectrum. It's not a huge deal. We already know, people, what we're getting ourselves into. You're either in or out, and most likely Unfortunately for Ubisoft, I at least am on a wait and see. I'll pick it up, like I picked up the last one for $12 or whatever, and it's a fair price. And I feel the same about this one.
Well said.
Yeah, I feel the same too.
All right, well, moving on. Making video games is hard, and that's why some developers use AI, apparently. Lord, you have this story for us.
Yeah. So this story comes from Kotaku's Ethan Gatch. So let's just put it this way: Call of Duty admits to using AI on and some of it for some assets here. So let's get into it. Call of Duty Black Ops 6 players have been accusing various loading screens and calling cards from the game of being AI generated since it came out last fall. But it was only ever based on vibes and the occasional very convincing piece of seemingly obvious AI slop. Now, Activision has admitted to using AI generated assets in the hit multiplayer shooter on its Steam page, which I thought was interesting. The developers describe how their game uses AI generated content like this. Our team uses generative AI tools to help develop some in game assets, reads the disclosure on Valve's storefront. Recently spotted by Charlie Intel, a very well known Twitter CoD user. While it doesn't elaborate any further on which assets are made with AI and how, the confession has reaffirmed what some fans have been claiming for months. So, my question is, like, what forced their hand to make this like confession?
Their six-fingered hand.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they got busted. Like some of these, I looked through some of their some of the assets that they're using. I was like, that is blatant. You can just see there's hands that have more than one like too many fingers. It's just weird, and I think it's funny that it was all done on Steam. I'm wondering if Valve took note of the accusations and told them, hey, look, you gotta like I feel like Valve is very transparent in that way and will make developers like come clean with certain things. And I think this might have been something that had happened because I just think it's very out of the blue. And this is another question that I do have. Like, are we even mad that companies use AI anymore? Because to me, like, Call of Duty is a game. Like, if AI had a face, it would be the face of AI at this point. So it's just like, I'm not even sure if we can be mad at this situation because like Call of Duty is like, I don't even know if it's like an artful game anymore. It is just like totally like regurgitated like nonsense. So let me know, like, what do you guys think? Are you guys with this, or it just like, well, let's not even go down this road with AI in any cost?
It depends on what the AI is being used for. So if it's being used for like AI, I don't know, your enemies and how they act, or little storylines, like self-created storylines, like that's one thing. But I think a lot of this case is it was artwork. It was stuff that someone, you could throw them some money and they could whip up. I don't know. I'm not a graphic designer, but I would assume whip up somewhat quickly. Like, give me a zombie that's reaching for you underneath a bed or whatever that photo is, and someone could probably come up with something really quickly. An actual artist, and that's where I think you're crossing the line, because you really are taking a job away from an artist by having AI do this. So that's, I think, the line that is crossed. Does it stop me from playing the game? No, I'm not going to boycott. I don't see a boycott in my future. But I'll note it. I'll be like, hey, maybe that next time, if you're increasing the use of AI for the next Call of Duty, oh, maybe I won't be so quick to jump on that bandwagon. Dan, what about you?
I'm the exact same way. I think that AI is going to be used, period. And it's the application of it that we have an issue with here. AI is great for bug checking and suggesting code and putting things behind, the screen that we can't really see. But it's the artwork generation that you alluded to, Molding, that is the real issue here, because it's just quick and it's lazy and they're just putting it out there. And the humans aren't supposed to be in charge of the computers. We cannot let the computers take over our jobs. We have to have gatekeepers. And when humans aren't doing their jobs, then you have to call into question like what's going on here, because maybe they're cutting a little too many corners here. I don't think the use of AI is bad. I think it is a buzzword that people are wigging out about, but it's just how we're using the AI. And unfortunately for this case, they got busted with it. And I'm glad that they fessed up, because it's going to be more common going forward. And I do think that we have the right as consumers to call them out when they're lazy about it, as they were in this case.
Yeah, that's really well said. I think you guys both make very good points. I think like sorry, I hit the mute button. I think loading screens definitely, like when it could be just like an artist, that is a really good point. And I think Call of Duty, they're like forcing customers to buy $80 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle skins. So if this is like a surprise to anybody that they're using AI, then like I got like something to sell you. You know, it's crazy. So it's
An
an
$80
interesting one.
skin. That's
An $80 skin. That's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So I think it's just gonna be more and more common. I'm glad I think it would be, honestly, just like transparency would be good. So
I'd like to know budget wise, because we're talking about these games $600 million budgets, like huge amount of budgets. How much are you really saving in that when you're talking about that size of money? Saving with having AI create a loading screen? Like, really, you can't throw an artist $40,000 to create, I don't know, hundreds of loading screens for you? Like, really, you're when you're dealing with that big a budget, you're saving that much money? I don't know. It's
and it's a bad
stupid.
look, because it's consumer facing, and that's not where you want your AI to show up, you know?
Yeah, good point.
But it must be tough, you know, balancing games and big budgets, because we know that WB and Monolith, unfortunately, have had a rough week. Malding, you had this story.
Yeah, this was a huge story this week, and it's really, really upsetting. So this, broken by Jason Schreier on Blue Sky. He's one of the foremost gaming journalists out there right now, and one of the last journalists, which we might be talking about a little bit later. Warner Brothers cancels Wonder Woman game and closes 3 studios. The studios behind the Middle Earth games and Multiverses are no more. Rebecca Valentine from Kotaku writes the story about it. I would have pulled it right from Jason at Bloomberg, but the article is behind a paywall, unfortunately. She says that shortly after the story broke, WB confirmed it with Kotaku in a statement reading, "We have had to make some very difficult decisions to structure our development studios and investments around building the best games possible with our key franchises: Harry Potter, Mortal Kombat, DC, and Game of Thrones. After careful consideration, we are closing 3 of our development studios: Monolith Productions, Player First Games, and Warner Brothers Games San Diego. This is a strategic change in direction and not a reflection of these teams or the talent that consists within them. The development of Monolith's Wonder Woman video game will not move forward. Our hope was to give players and fans the highest quality experience possible for the iconic character, and unfortunately, this is no longer possible within our strategic priorities." That's the end quote. Earlier this year, another Bloomberg report suggested Wonder Woman was in trouble after rebooting and switching directors in early 2024. Monolith Productions, which had been working on Wonder Woman, was founded in 1994 and acquired by WB in 2004. It's best known for Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor and its sequel Shadow of War, the former of which pioneered which I often talk about, the Nemesis system that Warner Brothers successfully patented in 2021. Player First Games, which I didn't really know about, a newer studio established in 2019, was responsible for Multiverses. The game was well received critically and saw launch success, but underperformed relative to Warner Brothers' expectations. Warner Brothers San Diego, similarly, is a newer studio established in 2019 with a focus on mobile free-to-play games. So, huge bummer. Will we ever see the Nemesis system ever again? Is
Rip
that
Nemesis
just
system?
completely
We will.
completely gone, right?
I think we will. It's too good of an idea. Someone will either copy it, rip it off, or license it. I think the
So
real
10
shame here.
years is what they have. They have that patent for 10 years, and at which point it goes. I'm not quite sure what happens. Maybe it becomes open source or something. I don't know. But 10 years is the lockdown.
We got to be coming up on that though, right?
10 years from 2019. So
shit.
yeah,
that's a little while. Well, no, you know what? I'm glad they got their priorities straight, because I am so glad they're putting all the eggs in their Game of Thrones basket. Love those games. I'm just kidding.
was that? Yeah, I was like, was that
my eyes are like,
I'm totally like, what are they talking about with that statement? I'm like, hello. Also, Mortal Kombat, dude. That honestly, that franchise has been. I know there's some hardcore players out there, but like, come on, Mortal Kombat, Game of Thrones, like, and we're just doing away with whole studios. Like, I don't know, the industry right now is looking so bleak, and it's just like every
WB's having a rough time of it lately. They were, if you remember, they were kind of half-assing their video games thing. They got Rocksteady. They didn't know what to do with them. They were gonna sell them. They put them up. They got all these bids. Everyone wanted them, and then all of a sudden, everyone wanted Rocksteady. They're like, whoa, no. Okay, we're gonna play video game. We're gonna make the video games. Yeah. And then they ended up making the Suicide Squad, and then they got Super Burn, and they're like, oh fuck, we were definitely out of video games. And it's just unfortunate because they had some great studios. Monolith, amazing, and Rocksteady, of course, amazing. Yeah. I didn't play the multiverses, but I can tell you that I just don't think WB knows how to kind of guide game developers and do that sort of production. They've always been really troubled. In fact, the rumors I had heard on Wonder Woman were that it initially started out very Nemesis system-like, and it was using it, and then they came in and they forced it to turn to more of a God of War approach, and so they rebooted production and started all over again, and they clearly didn't have a clear vision, and it was kind of all over the place, and then, to be honest with you, I really think it was Suicide Squad that nailed the last nail in the coffin for all of it. So I'm not, unfortunately, surprised to see this, because WB just didn't seem to know what they were doing, and it just came a little bit later than I thought, and it's truly unfortunate because I think they had some great studios and some great opportunity there.
It's been having problems in the theatrical side as well, and I think all of it kind of bleeds into each other. So I think maybe, let's say Joker 2 would have been a success. Maybe they would have said, hey, there is this thirst for more DC stuff, so let's keep that. Could have given Wonder Woman a reprieve. You never know. When you have so many of these corporate conglomerates have so many different pieces, they look to save money to offset failures in other parts of their business. So for all we know, they could be like, hey, we're having a hard time over here, we got to make some cuts over here too. You don't know. It obviously, we talk anytime we mention any sort of layoffs or developer shutting down, like, our thoughts and are with those people who lost their jobs. Hopefully they can land someplace. I mean, whip that Monolith Studio team, like, grab those people as soon as you can, because they put out some great games. I love those Mordor games are so fun.
Right. And they're responsible for the Fear franchise, which is some of the best first person shooting you could like ask for. So we won't be getting any more of that, which is too bad. It's been too long for one of those games, and sad times.
It's definitely a rough time for the video game industry, but not only that, it's a rough time for the video game journalism part of the industry. Lord, you had this story for us.
Yeah. So this week, Jason Schreier, he responded to an interesting little X
and you should
comment.
Explain like that. He's the Bloomberg writer, one of the foremost
who just broke the story that I just read. That's him.
He's basically the number one. So he decided to chime in on this post on X, and he was basically responding because the post was pretty much talking about how games journalists only carry water for like the AAA games right now, and indie games kind of go to the wayside. And games journalists only care when there's like massive layoffs or drama within that. So this is what I had to say here. Jason Schreier spills the tea on the absolute state of video game journalism on X. So here it is. I empathize, but there are maybe 24 people with full time jobs in the video game press right now, and they're all overworked and underpaid. Most of their traffic comes from guides, SEO, and exaggerating news first, so it gets traction on Reddit. Very little of that traffic leads to revenue because the advertisement business has been destroyed by Google and Facebook. But still, people need to chase traffic because otherwise they won't have jobs for very long. Despite that, sites like IGN and Polygon are still frequently promoting cool indie games, even if it's not at the rate you'd prefer. Blaming media for the industry's woes is easy but misguided. I'm one of the few people fortunate enough to have a large platform, and I try to use it to boost indie games that I fall in love with. But there are too many games released every week and not enough time to play them all. Those few journalists remaining are just trying to hold on to their jobs in an industry that is far, far more precarious than video gaming, where things are tough right now, but money is still coming in. Recruiters don't even exist in media because there are no jobs to recruit for. I wouldn't be shocked if we see even more gaming outlets disappear in 2025. Crazy. This, like, when I
That's
read this,
tough. Yeah, it's tough but true, because we hear even we're complaining about the way that journalism is in video games when we are accused, like all of these sites, of trying to promote the $100 price tag because of for GTA 6, and essentially the whole industry unfortunately is an echo chamber. One person writes an original article and everybody else copies it. So it's clear that the video game journalism is not in a great state, and it is awesome that he kind of like came out and hit the nail on the head and finally said what we've all been thinking. And it does suck because you see the pieces that are underneath it and how these bigger corporations and affect the way that these businesses were set up. So I don't really know what the solution is, but the first way to solve a problem is to address and acknowledge the problem, and at least he's doing that.
True. And I think that's just like kind of going along with just to take it a step further. I think a lot of media right now is just a lot of people are going independent. It's just the way it is that you have so much more access to all different things from other outlets. Like, so it's crazy. When you hearing that there's only 24 people with full-time jobs in journalism, one is definitely Ethan Gatch, because that guy is writing all the time.
Zach Sweezen.
Yeah, Zach Sweezen.
That's where I wanted to chime in here. If you watch our show, we think it's very important to give attribution to these articles, because we are not journalists. We're just commenting on these stories every week. But it is a handful of names that we give. It's Paul Tassi, Zach Sweezen, Rebecca. It's Rebecca Valentine. I'm sorry, who I just gave. Like it's you can see it just by watching our show how few journalists there are.
Yeah. But it's surprising to me. There should be more. Their money is there, like, and there's interest in gaming.
I mean, maybe.
I mean,
if it was, would a Game Informer would still be going on, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying. I blame it. It all went downhill since Game Informer departed. But I mean, like, for instance, this is my, like, okay, there's like the Hollywood Reporter, there's Variety, there's all these different outlets that cover the movie news that are, I would say video games are just as big as movies at this point. Like, why can't that journalism be on the same level? It doesn't really make sense to me.
Yeah, why, when we listen to NPR, why isn't there a video game segment where they talk about the video games?
My guess is that the video game, while the industry makes much more money than movies, the audience isn't as big. Like, we pay $70 per game, where people are only paying $20 for movie tickets, or
$25 now.
All right. Yeah. All right. Dang it. You shut it down too fast, Dan. What the heck? No, that's no, really, really good point. But I just think there still should be more than 24 people
Yeah.
like writing.
Yeah.
It's just very strange to me to hear.
I don't mean to be negative Nancy here, but I don't know that it's going to get much better with the introduction of AI, because now when I'm looking for something, AI is the one that answers me and I don't go to the article. So these people aren't getting the views. Unfortunately, they're just feeding AI, and Google and Bing and everyone are just ripping them off, and I'm too lazy to click. So I just take it from the quick AI answer and then I keep moving. It's true. It's unfortunate. And this is going to be symptomatic of all media, not
Yes.
just video games going forward, but we are where
We
we
also
are.
make the joke a lot, like IGN sevens, lots of sevens
Yeah,
on those games
sevens.
that come out. It seems to be a very frequent number for them.
For
Like,
sure.
how accurate is that? Like, you don't even know.
Well, they can't offend their advertisers, so I don't know.
wow,
So, yeah.
so
It's wild
crazy.
times, my
Tough.
friend. All right, well, let's hop into the email topics of the week. This week, actually, the first question I think, Molding, you had.
Yeah, just a real quick thing. We talked, I think you, Dan, last week said something about something in a game that was really important, but you didn't really care about. And that got me thinking about what gaming features get a lot of attention, but aren't that important to you, and what features never get attention, but are kind of awesome. So my first one was an involved character creator gets so much attention. Avowed got a lot of it. They have an involved character creator. It's not a huge thing for me. I love making a really hot guy that I get to play as, but other than that, like, I don't need to change the eye location on a fate. Like, I just don't need that. Give me some good, like, kind of attractive default like whatever photos, that's not the right word, but give me some default stuff to work around a little bit, and that's enough for me.
I agree. I do have to say, how ironic is it that Avowed gives you so much of such a varied character creator, and then you play their game and all of their characters inside look the same, and it's like, you didn't even use your own character
Didn't
creator
even
in
use it on
damn
your own
game.
thing.
So I agree with you, but just wanted to point out that I think Avowed's funny for that.
And I did make a really hot dude in Avowed, probably the hottest video game character I've ever
Wow.
made, but it wouldn't have changed my feelings had he not been. Like, I wouldn't
Pixar,
have
it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh, I posted it. I posted it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
All right. Now,
through
I took a
our-
break
I think
from
last week. Yeah.
Twitter
Yeah.
for a bit. I need to come back.
That's
All right,
okay.
I'll look.
Yeah.
For me, when it comes to like a lot of attention, this falls on some controller situations for me. One, haptic feedback. I think the PS5
I
controller.
like it. Astrobot, I
I thought
love
it was
you.
annoying. I
Okay,
agree.
there we
It's kinda
go.
annoying.
There we
Astrobot
go.
was the only place I thought it was great.
Okay, haptic, not just complete. I turned it off on every game, no matter what, like
What?
automatically.
Okay, calm down.
then-
You're going a little too far.
And then gyro, yeah, gyro controls. Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Both of those. I know everyone and their mother wants you to try the gyro controls on the Steam Deck, but no. It is such a gimmick. Just get used. And guess what? Your gaming career will thank you. Just get better at aiming with the thumbsticks. Trust me, that is the way to go. Do not try to use the gyro controls. That goes with the Switch as well, because you could do that with Choose the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild. So don't do it. All right. That's my take.
That's good.
For me, mine is crossplay. Yes, I know we were all excited last generation when we finally tore down the walls and we were able to play with each other, and I was part of that too. I was super pumped. And then a little bit later, I was just like, hey, wait a minute. All these PC players are effing cheating. What the hell? Crossplay is so overhyped. Look, I love my PlayStation brothers, I love my Xbox brothers, and I especially love beating up noobs on Nintendo because they make me feel better about myself. But what I don't care for are PC cheaters. They can go F themselves. I love crossplay if it were console only. I'm not a fan of crossplay when it comes to PC. People still try and make it like this is a great thing and all that sort of stuff. But PC cheaters can go F themselves. That's mine.
I'm good with it if you let me turn it off. if you let me be able to play with
Yeah.
my friends on PC when I want to, like I'm going to be doing with Monster Hunter, and turn it off when I
then they
would
try
just
and
wanna play
punish
console.
us by making our queue times longer. Just,
Yeah.
FPC. That's all I say.
Yeah.
I'm going to make a
life was
t-shirt that
much
says
simpler.
FPC.
What about a good one? A good one that for me that never gets attention is a very quick autosave. I want to autosave
Ooh.
with 1 or 2 button presses. 2 absolute maximum. I want to hit
Yep.
select and then hit start and have it autosave and just continue on with my game. I've talked about it before. Skyrim, you could use the Connect to do a quick autosave feature with that. You could just say Skyrim, or I can't remember what the commands were, Connect, autosave, or whatever. So fun, so nice and easy. And there have been a few other games that, it's just so nice. You press start, press select, you got your game saved, and you can move on. So that's one thing that I don't think gets enough attention.
And that's a good one, Malding, because I just started a fresh save on Witcher 3, but on PC, and you could quick save just by hitting F5. And oh man,
it's perfect.
So you're just like dip F5, quick save, and it's just it's a beautiful thing. I was like, wow, just a save at the press of a button, like how nice. So yeah, good stuff.
Totally agree.
And then I've kind of mentioned this before. I think I said more the Switch, but the Steam Deck has a great sleep feature as well. I don't think it's quite as fleshed out as the Switch one, where it's not quite, sometimes you turn it on and it's kind of glitchy, but jumping back into a AAA gorgeous game after just your Steam Deck being asleep is so cool. And I know it's not the most under the radar feature, but it's one of those things that I still don't think gets quite enough praise.
It is pretty
because
convenient.
It's amazing. It's great stuff, and I've been using it a lot lately, so fresh on the mind.
Nice. Yeah, and for me, it's like following on the heels of Malding's, like with overhyped character creators and stuff like that. I agree. And then there was this one time where someone did something different and nobody said an effing word. So the game was, believe it or not, Elden Ring. And I don't want to go, I'm still, the jury's still out on that one. But what I can say about the character creator is they had one of the best features I've ever seen in a character creator, bar none, period, and no one told me about it. The problem I have is I go into these character creators, and as Malding said, I do like to play with the eyes up and down and, hey, this eyebrow, and then maybe I do this. But I go in so microscopically that I'm playing with the ears here and that and the jawline and the cheeks. And then I zoom out and I'm like, my God, what have I created? It's so ugly. Like the individual pieces looked nice, but when I step back and look at the character I've created, I'm like, and then I just delete and go with the default because I can't create characters in character creators. When they give me too many options, I'm effed, man. And the sad thing is I've probably sat there for 2 hours and I come out with like this crazy mutant, and then I'm like, oh man. But Elden Ring, genius, has a button called similar faces. So you can make your crazy looking mutant and then you hit similar faces, and it takes what the monstrosity that I've created and it gives me like 20 options to choose from. And I can choose one and then I can hit similar face again. And I can continue to move into a direction that actually looks like it might be human. And I don't feel like I've wasted my time, and they fixed it for me. And I think from here on out, everybody needs to have a similar face button in their character creator for idiots like me.
Yeah. I spent about 30 minutes on the character creator in Elden Ring, and then I chose prisoner, and I wound up just having a metal thing on my head for the whole game. So
which wraps up everything we have for this week. If you're watching on YouTube, please like and subscribe. And if you're listening on a podcast, please tell like 250 friends. And on behalf of Matthew Malding, Matt Lord, and myself, Dan Whitehill, thanks for joining us. And as always, good playing with you.
Good playing with you.
Good playing with you.